What exactly is the problem with humanity? And no, I'm not talking about the news, nor am I talking about whatever problem your neighbor did, nor am I talking about those people who just can't seem to figure out the traffic circles. No, I mean on a big, worldwide, cosmic scale, what is the problem with humanity? Whole books have been written about that, but I think that when you look, all the answers fall into two broad categories. The first category are answers that say the problem with humanity is that we don't try hard enough, and we just need to try harder to solve the problem. You hear this answer all the time because this is the most popular answer. Whole industries like the self-help industry are built on this answer. Every time the doctor says to you that your health problems are because of your weight and you need to lose weight and all you need to do that is just try a little harder, he's giving you this answer. Or if you're an addict and somebody says about your addiction that in order to solve the problem, you just need to have a stronger willpower. They're giving you this answer. Or if you have ADD and somebody says to you, well, the problem is you just need to focus harder. Yeah, because that'll work. They're giving you this answer. Or to overcome your depression, you just need to be happier. All these answers boil down to the same thing. The problem with humanity is that we just don't try hard enough. And we just need to try harder. Here's the funny thing about that answer. It never works, does it? For every one weight loss story, there's 100 failures. And the addict knows that whether they are 1 or 1,000 days into recovery, that they are still an addict. And the person with ADD knows that just focus harder is not an answer. And the person with depression knows that just be happy is not a realistic answer. The second category of answers is the biblical answer. And the biblical answer is the hardest one to hear because the biblical answer says this: humanity's problems are so deep and so wide and so great that we need saving from outside ourselves. In Isaiah 52 and 53, that's our first lesson, we meet the people of Israel in a real problem. They are in exile. Their failures have wrought for them various disasters. They worshipped other gods, they failed to uphold justice, they failed to care for the weak and the powerless, and so God sent the Babylonians, and the Babylonians did what the Babylonians do best: they conquered. They destroyed Jerusalem, they conquered and destroyed the temple, they forcibly deported most of the population, and now that group of refugees has to live in a foreign city called Babylon. And they're kind of wondering the same question that we started with at the beginning of this sermon: what's our problem and how do we get out of it? And I'm sure off in Babylon, they had a group of people who were prescribing the just try harder solution. You can almost hear them say, we got into this mess because we weren't holy enough and we just need to try harder. We just need to pray more. We just need to worship better. Then God will recognize our efforts and God will bring us home. Yet God and the prophet Isaiah know the truth. The truth is this, that path is just as much a dead end for Israel as it is for us. So the prophet takes a different take, and he begins writing this poem. We call this poem one of the suffering servant songs. We don't know the identity of the servant. Jewish tradition says that it's Israel as a whole. And Christian tradition says that it's a prediction of Jesus, but either way, the poem begins innocently enough. Poem starts, "See, my servant shall prosper, and he shall be exalted and shall be lifted up and shall be very high." And that sounds right, and we say to ourselves, yeah, we are in a mess, but guess what? We're going to get out of it. Okay, thank you, Isaiah. How are we going to get out of it? Are we going to get out of it through hard work, through grit, through trying harder? No, that's not what Isaiah has to say. Isaiah has something different in mind. Isaiah says then, just as there were many who were astonished at him, so marred was his appearance beyond human semblance, his form beyond that of mortals. You could almost hear the crowd say to themselves, wait, what are you talking about? Marred beyond human semblance? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like a story of trying harder and reaching a new life. And then in verse 5 of chapter 53, we get the real heart of the story. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole. And by his bruises we are healed. The point that God is trying to make through the prophet Isaiah is that there is a way out of exile. God can work something new. God can raise the dead. God can change circumstances. Healing is possible. Forgiveness is real. We can, in fact, be made whole. But not because you try harder, says God. Not because you found a self-help book. Not because you followed the steps. Not because you practiced and got better. No, you'll be made whole, you will be healed, but you'll be healed and made whole through suffering and death. You'll be made whole and be healed by entering suffering and death. And that God, it's God who does it, not you. It's not by your own efforts that you are made whole. So let's leave Israel for a moment and return to the present. All of us are here tonight, and if we are all really honest with ourselves, we have all tried. I'll just try a little harder. And we all are here tonight because we know that those efforts haven't worked. All of your efforts to try just a little harder still leave us with a Jesus Christ who is bruised and broken and nailed to the cross. The cross is telling us this: you will not self-improve yourself to new life. You will not try hard enough to get to resurrection. You will not achieve enough personal growth to find new life, and no development goal will bring you to resurrection. So all that means you can stop trying harder. But the cross is also telling us this: the way to new life is through suffering and death. And if we join Jesus in a death like his, we shall much more surely join him in a resurrection like his. Amen.